Hi, my name is Silke, and I want to share a little bit about what I do and how I actually get there. So the history of what I do. So my name is Silke. I live in the Netherlands. Dutch is my native language, and I work both in Dutch and in English. And what I do are a few things. I work in groups and I work one-on-one. I do inner child work, healings, and individually I also do vocal sound healings, and I work with the energy and the initiation of the Hawaiian baby wood rose. So the common denominator for this work for me is the idea of being the lover, really harnessing this gentleness, this sensitivity as a strength, as a power, because I really think it is a strength, a power. Our whole community, our whole society basically is based on these very masculine energies. It comes down to just masculinity, which we do need, but the whole spectrum of softness, love, it was also foreign to me. I was brought up by a very strict father, and emotions were something no one could deal with. So for me, it's also been a very interesting journey. I would love to share a little bit about it, but I'm also only going to share right now what is, I think, relevant right now. So when I was 19 years old, looking back, I would say I then had my dark night of the soul. So I was very intellectually, I would say, adept. First started a bachelor in neuroscience. Moved out of the house when I was 17 years old, but I could not, for the love of me, find an answer to the question of why do I exist? What is the meaning of life? Why am I actually here? And I was trying to get the answer in my mind. I was trying to rationalize, philosophize, do whatever, but I was only trying to get the answer in my head, and I was going in circles, and I didn't find any satisfying answer. So at that point, a few years before that, I was about to commit suicide because there was no satisfying answer for me. Failed at that attempt, but at this point my parents were still, of course, involved, and they knew of my depression basically, and this accumulated when I was 19 years into such a big hole that I went to a healer, and there I sort of had the big turning point for me, because I could actually connect with the core mission of being on Earth to help children into the new age. So from that moment on, I had this sort of core, fundament of knowing that I'm here to help children into the new age, and how I was going to do that, or how I would get there. It was still, it was open, but having this sort of clear mission from that early age, I would say, was so helpful for me, and it really gave me the motivation to keep going. With that in mind, I started doing a degree in social work. I started a year into that. I started to do a program for holistic child therapy. So I was I was having these mainstream ideas about what it is to heal someone or to heal a child, which were of course horrible, or in that sense current psychology and psychiatric treatments they're catching up, but this is almost 20 years ago. So back then it was still it was a narrow-minded narrative, in my opinion. So that from a very early age, also knew this is not it for me. I'm going in the right direction, but I there's more. I feel I have to do something more, something else. And then I was already doing yoga, so I was into like alternative medicine, so to speak. And I knew like the body, I needed my body. I needed to move, do sports to actually balance out of what I was doing in life. So then I got really interested in doing children's yoga. So I started doing that, teaching that, and felt like, okay, this is gonna help kids so much, get them mindful and in connection with themselves, with their bodies. And I went to India for like 4 or 5 months. It was great. I loved it there, but I was like, I just finished my bachelor's degree, so I was poor. Got back because I didn't have that much money. And then when I got back, like, I felt like the Netherlands were a terrible country. People were so focused on themselves. They wouldn't help you. Like, I can still remember so clearly that coming back, I went to a job interview, and in India, of course, everybody rides a motorcycle or a scooter or whatever, and they would offer you a ride even if you like didn't need a ride. So I was coming back, and I actually needed a ride because it had been snowing a little bit, so the sidewalks were like still covered with snow. I'm like, okay, I'm almost getting late, please. So someone like stopped next to me, like, I need to go there. Am I going in the right direction? I'm like, yes. And then they just drove off. And I was like baffled. Like, they just left me here. And then nobody asked me. Nobody wanted to help me. So for like a year, after coming back for a year, I felt like so homesick. I wanted to go back to India, but I didn't know how. I was just like, if I wanted to live there, I would have to live to like their standards and would never have enough money to come back. And so I was like, yeah, I just felt like it's shit here, but going back is also not an option. And I think also because of this bitterness, my heart, like looking back, I think my heart closed up a little more. But anyhow, I decided, okay, let's stay. I started working full time. Like, well, this is not it. Let's do a master's program. So I was again like fueling the mind. Of course, it's all happened for a reason. So I was very content, and while doing my master's, and by doing my master's, I could also start teaching at university, like at my former own education, so at the social work program. And I really liked that because what I was doing at the end of the program is like supervising students in their internships. And I really love that whole point. Like, you are the tool you work with. So yes, maybe you have different tools and knowledge and whatnot in your like backpack. You are the tool that is helping people. So if you do not know yourself, you'll be a terrible social worker. Or you need to know why you do the things you do. So diving into that for like 15 years, I think that is my greatest strength. So I'm really good at digging up why we do the things, like why I do the things I do. I'm really good at, but also helping others to become aware of why they do the things they do. Which leads me into like the inner child work I'm doing right now. But I'll go back to my story first. So I was teaching, so I got into teaching at uni, loved it, and I was always doing volunteering on the side, like doing some other stuff. But I also felt like if I really want to do like the kid make a move, I should work less at the uni and do more of like spiritual stuff. At that point I was so unclear about what that actually meant for me or what I wanted to do, but I just knew like staying in the system, in the schooling system that is just numbing off student or young adults. And then after an ayahuasca trip, that was sort of it. And a lot of the ceremonies back then for me were always focused on getting into my heart, like getting into the emotions. That was really, for a long time, the biggest, and maybe still, the biggest learning curve I had to take. Knowing how to deal with emotions, because I wasn't taught at home, I wasn't taught at school. Yes. So after the ayahuasca ceremony, I was like, okay, I have to quit. This is just not feeling good. This place is not good for me. I'm not contributing to the world. This is not helping children become, feel welcomed or get into the new age. So quit that. And this is like 6-7 years ago. And since then, it's been like, it's been a ride. It's been a ride and a flow. Looking, of course, now I can also look back. I see that at that point, I already started moving towards somatic work. So I knew the benefit like running could have for me. At that point, I was doing like triathlons. I was a sporter. In Dutch, it's a sportswoman. That's the English word. And I think I also like I knew how to do somatic work, and I was also running with my parents' dogs. I was doing canicrols, and from there I felt like, okay, this is really a cool way of working with children and with parents. But at that point, I also knew like the real trick is to get parents on board, become aware of what they do. But I started working with dog assisted, so I got like a dog assisted therapy, and I was doing like play and sports therapy, which were the resilience training I did in like in the gym was like the best, I would say. Or the best. It was a really good move for me to make, because I got really acquainted with what it is to work with a body, to make someone aware of what is happening in their body and how this is influencing what they feel or what they think, and how they can control themselves by controlling their bodies, etc. So gradually, after this ayahuasca ceremony, gradually things started shifting for me. So I'm starting to feel more what's in my body, but also my emotions. And I also started gradually, I was doing more Kundalini yoga, so that might be relevant. I don't really know. But I also gradually started like become open to channeling. Yeah, I could, my senses were widened, so I could receive more information, basically. And it was through Isis, I would say, that I was guided towards the Hawaiian baby wood rose. And this is like an energy, and it's super exciting and also mysterious, and I'm still loving that. But it's still going. What I think the biggest change for me has been that I am no longer here. So I had this very clear mission, like I have to help children, and then at some point I was clear, like I can only help children if I help parents, and that meant for me to actually reconcile, do my inner child work, and get clear on what is still why I didn't like parents. I thought they were annoying, they were not listening. Took me a while to be able to like take a step back and say like, well, I knew these kids, they are not the problem. It is us. It is our society. It's us as adults that are asking things of kids that they don't want to do. And in our generation, like we were forced to do them, but now they don't let themselves, like they don't want to be forced, and they just retaliate. And yes. So this was not by free will. So last year I had a very big initiation where I could totally feel like, okay, this whole mission where I have to help children, it's cancelled, or it felt like it was cancelled. And I know it was cancelled because I was using like love, and everything had to serve this mission. Everything had to be in favor of this mission. And I was actually sort of starting to use, I was thinking of love and light as instruments to get to this mission, whereas it's actually the other way around. So right now, the whole mission, if you want to call it a mission, is just to be love. Last year I've thought about it, like it's a good way, just call it be the lover. It's the only thing we have to do. And that's also a thing. We don't actually have to do anything. If we are just love. If we let ourselves be guided by love. If all our decisions are based on love. If we only give and receive love, then heaven is really going to come to earth. So I think this is, it sounds maybe corny, but it really is, that's just it. So everything I do and offer is geared towards that. Being love, being lover means that we, and I, of course as well, have to let go of everything we don't love, of everything that is blocking our love from shining through. And for me, this meant clearing a lot of programs and energies from this life, but also from previous lives, like a lot of letting go, so the love can come in. And I really invite you to do the same. To just make it your life's mission to become a clear vessel for love and light. To do everything you do for the highest good of all. And then the magic will happen. It is happening for me right now. It took me a while. Last year I was struggling. For longer I was struggling. Didn't have any money. Living with my parents. I could get a grasp of where I was going, but not really. Couldn't really feel it, in my gut. And now finally things are rolling. And we are all capable of this. We all deserve this. This love, this things going effortless, because we also have this program of we have to work hard, life has to be difficult. It doesn't. It's not. So I have bunches of more I would like to share with you. This is sort of the common line, or where I got where I am now. Whereas I feel I can intuitively share some healings. The people that are right for the Woodrose are coming along. And I'm co-creating. So that's a very big one for me. We're not meant to be solo healers, or we're not meant to live on our own, live by ourselves, and also not to work, if you call it work. It doesn't feel like work for me, but by ourselves. The real magic starts happening when we're co-creating, when we're exchanging qualities or exchanging gifts with each other to share with the group or share with others. And this, I would say, is funny, because looking back when I was doing my social work program, I hated working together with other people. I always wanted to do it my way, and I was I wanted to be in control. And if you would have told me then that I would love or look forward to co-creating with other people, I would have said you were crazy. But I do. So I meet a lot of interesting people that also want to create with me. So that's also something I'm very grateful for, and I'm just happy to do. Yes. So if any of this story resonated with you, or if you feel inspired, or you just want to get in contact, leave you can leave a reaction in the description box, and or you can look me up on Instagram, but we can get in contact. You'll hear from me soon. I'm gonna share more. I have a lot to share. I have a lot of stories. I can tell a lot of stories about what I've done in my life, but I also have a lot of stories about where I want to go, or what it is I'm doing, and why I'm doing it. So follow me.